Yo, what's going on, people? It's your boy Kelechi back with another episode of the Rambling Mind Podcast. How y'all doing? How y'all doing today? I hope each and every single one of you are doing awesome. I hope y'all are doing well and handling this wintry, at least in the USA, this wintry season. I hope y'all are handling it well. It's not just cold up here. I was talking to my dad yesterday, and he was telling me how in Nigeria there's something called Harmattan, and that's basically like dry and cold season. And he was telling me like it's cold for him too down there. So I'm just like, man, it's just cold all over the world. Of course, it wasn't the same level of cold, but you know, cold is still cold. So it's all about your perspective, you know. It's still cold even when it might be 50 degrees somewhere, but it's cold to them because usually the temperature is 70. So therefore, it's a change in temperature, so it's cold. It's all reference point, what your body is acclimated to and adjusted to, and then all of a sudden, if it changes on you, you're gonna be cold. Or for some people with a lighter complexion than me, they didn't really get cold. Like, I was walking around yesterday. I'm over here in like 3 layers of clothes. I'm hugging my jacket. I'm walking down the street, and opposite me, I just see a girl in short shorts and a crop top, and she's just like, no problem. Like, the cold ain't even doing anything. I'm just like, what? I'm like, dog, how are you able to survive in this weather like that? I'm over here clasped, grabbing my coat, hugging myself in it, trying to get as warm as possible, trying to keep the heat in. And she over there just like, it's all good. I'm good in this. I'm just like, man, I wish I could fight the cold like that. I wish I could just walk around in a t-shirt, jeans, and that's all I needed when it's cold. I'm over here wearing some super warm socks, some thick shoes, boots, out here trying to fight against the cold, and it's only about 30-something degrees, and I'm like, and they're just like, it's all good. This ain't no cold. It ain't cold for me. But anyway, how y'all doing? How y'all doing today? I hope y'all are doing wonderful. Have you guys ever had a regret? Have you ever regretted something? Like, you should have done the thing, but then you were like, nah, I'm not gonna do the thing, and then you just sit back and like, man, I wish I had gone to do that thing. Well, that was me on Saturday, man. Saturday, so backstory, every Saturday morning, I go play soccer early in the morning, around 7 o'clock. I go play soccer. And then right after that, I go ref and field manage soccer games. So Saturday morning, I was just feeling all kinds of lazy. I was just like, I woke up at 6 o'clock and I was like, nah, you know what? I'm too tired. I just need to rest in today. I don't need to go anywhere. That yada yada yada, all that, you know, all that excuse that we tell ourselves when we want to be lazy. And so I was just like, you know what, forget it, I'm just gonna not go. So I go back to sleep. I wake up at 9 o'clock, and then I go do my ref and field manage. And the whole time I'm out there during the ref and field manage, I'm just like watching everybody play, and I'm like, man, I should have gone playing this morning. I was just regretting like not going to play in the morning, because there was no real reason why I didn't go play in the morning. Let's say I actually had like a real reason why I didn't go play, and so I didn't go play, and it's like, okay, there's a reason for it why I couldn't play. That makes sense. But it's just because my laziness got the best of me. You know, it's just because I was so lazy. I decided I was just like, I'm not gonna play. So, and I just sat there just regretting, like the whole time I'm watching other people enjoy themselves, and I'm just sitting on the sidelines because I can't play as the field manager of the thing. I can't play. I can only watch and make sure that nobody gets hurt or anything like that. So I'm just there on the sideline watching everything, and I can't be a part of it. I can't be involved in it. I was just like, and it's cold on top of everything too. And so I'm freezing, and I'm watching everybody else be warm as they're running around and stop being cold. And I'm just like, I just was not happy. I was just so regretful. I was just like, man, this sucks. This really, really sucks. But anyway, I say all that, and I enter with regret to just talk about a topic we discussed last week about paying off your debt. And basically, I don't want y'all to have a situation where you regret tomorrow what you could handle today. My goal and my aim with a lot of these messages that I'm starting to put out with the personal finance topic side of what we do on the Rambling Mind podcast is to make sure that I'm putting every single person, every one of y'all, in a position where you don't end up regretting what you could be doing or regretting where you are tomorrow because of what you could have handled today. And so with the things that I'm putting out, with the ideas and the thought processes and the steps that I've suggested so far, and again, one thing, it is a suggestion. I am not a personal finance guru. I am not a I'm not a financial planner. I'm not any of these things. It's just things that I have learned along the way to get me to where I am today, in a position where I'm a little bit more flexible in my finances than most people are. And I think that it's something that I should share with other people, and other people can learn from some of the mistakes that I have made to make you better at whatever it is that you're doing when it comes to personal finance. And so the idea of these podcasts, the idea of when I talk about personal finance, is for you to not have a regret later on. We've talked about three different things, three major steps, and we're going to rehash on one of those steps, because when we talked about it last week, I didn't really give any detail as to how to go about it. I just talked about it. And so this week, we're going to start breaking down a couple of those steps and talking about more specifically how to go about doing it, how to actually energize yourself to go through it, how to go from a large picture and actually break it down step by step and say, this is what you need to do, this is how you handle it, and this is how you counteract the other things that can come out of the issues and come out of what we're discussing. And basically, once we finish talking about these three steps, then we get into some really fun stuff. Then we start talking about something that I enjoy a lot now, which is investing, talking about different investments, talking about how to look at investment accounts, how to look at mutual funds and which mutual funds to invest in, how to look at companies, how to look at their earnings, how to look at what they've done in the past 5 to 10 years to determine if this company will be a good company to invest in, how to take a company's last 6 months and determine, is this a quick stock to make a quick buck on? How to look at all those little things that make us excited. Making money makes everybody excited. But before we can even talk about making money, we have to handle all the other hard and dirty and all the nitty gritty. It's like when you're building a house, first of all, you have to handle the foundation. The foundation is boring. Nobody ever sees the foundation if done properly. Nobody ever pays attention to the foundation if done properly. But if the foundation is messed up, the rest of the house is crumbled. You can have a mansion, the most beautiful mansion ever. You can have a 6-story building, but if they don't handle the foundation properly, that building is going to come down crumbling. So it's the same thing. If we don't handle the base of what we're talking about, the foundation, which is the first 3 steps that we've been talking about, which is make a budget, get an emergency fund, and pay off your debt. These first 3 steps, if you do not handle these foundational steps properly, then the rest of it is not going to be able to stack on top of itself and build properly. It's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You've seen the image. Because the foundation could not withstand everything that was being placed upon it, it began to lean and lean and lean. Like the foundation was built, I believe it was built for like a 4-story building, but because they wanted the whoever it was, I forget if it was a emperor or so, wanted to add more on it. He kept on adding more, and then at that point the tower started leaning and leaning because the foundation itself could not hold. Now, of course, with the Leaning Tower of Pisa, there's some other stuff where they could have adjusted it. They found a way to adjust it, but now it's a national attraction, so people are going there. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is the foundation, these 3 steps that we've talked about: making a budget, getting an emergency fund of at least $1,000, and then paying off debt. These 3 foundational steps will be incredibly of such huge monumental change for everything else that we will discuss. The more fun stuff, the things that everybody wants to hear about. How do I make my money grow? How do I make more money? That kind of thing. We can't get to that step. We can't talk about those fun things. We can't talk about how you can get paid by companies even though you don't work for companies, how to earn dividend, how to earn all this stuff. We can't talk about that stuff. We cannot until we handle our base foundational things, because until we handle these things, the bigger issues, the other stuff, the more flashy stuff, the more flamboyant things are just gonna get in the way. They're just gonna get in the way of you being able to do what you need to do. So anyway, I have blabbered on and on too long about the foundation. So let's talk about how we make our foundation. We've already talked about how to make a budget. We talked about it. The first episode in this personal finance was simple. Make a budget. How do you make a budget? You write down every single thing that costs you every month, how much you make every month, and you write down all your bills, all the things that are of importance in your life that you have to pay for every month. You write down, you start off, and this is how you, we would just say, you write down all your bills, all the bills that you have to pay every single month, but then you hierarchy all those bills. In other words, your first and most important bill is your house, because you have to have somewhere to live. So that's your first bill. And then from there, your second bill is food, because if you don't live, if you don't eat, you're gonna die. So that's your second bill. You determine how much you want to spend for food. And then from there, it goes to, and then you start filling up with the other gaps. So you talk about things to support your house. So your power bill, your water bill, your gas bill if you have a gas bill, all those kind of bills that support your living in a house. And then after that, you think about your transportation, your gas. You budget for how much gas you're going to need in order to get to work to make the money that you're going to need to pay for all these other bills. So gas, you function that in there. If you know that your oil change is about to come up, you function that in there. You put that into a bill or something. You put that as a budget for that month. And all those are like some of the key things you factor in. And then after you handle all the main things, then you look at, and then of course you have insurance that goes into that as well. And you have, I'm on the fly here, I'm trying to think of different, you know what? Instead of doing that, let me just look at my bills, and then we'll go through my bills and determine which ones we all need to look at. Okay, so we just talked about insurance, we've talked about power, we've talked about water, and then after that you can look at all the other stuff. So then you look at your phone bill. That's another important thing. And then internet, if you want internet, you look at that as well. You look at your gym. If you have a gym, that's on there. And then after that, you start looking at all your credit card bills. You start determining, how much is it that every month I have to pay to some kind of credit card company or something like that. As a matter of fact, instead of doing it this way, let me use my budget as an overview of what it looks like, which I can't show y'all this because it's a podcast, and so you can't really see what I'm talking about. But I'm just gonna use I'm just gonna go down the list of my bills and basically my budget and how I've created my budget as an idea, because it is not set in stone. This stuff is not set in stone. Everybody has a different take of how they create a budget and what they determine to be the most important things on their budget. But for me, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about as far as budgeting and what I do with my budget. So let's start off with that. So like we talked about, we have the home stuff. We talked about paying your rent on time. That's important. And then food is just as important right after that. And then after that, it's all the stuff to support your home. And then after that it's your car, transportation. How do you get around, whatever that is, whether it's a car, whether it's public transportation, budget that stuff in and determine how much it's going to cost you. And then after that, then you start having the other things, like for example, your auto insurance. That's important. Auto insurance is important so that you can protect yourself. Your mobile phone payment, whatever it is for the month. And then from there, those are some of the major stuff. And then from there, you start determining all the other bills that you have. If you have credit card payments, you have to pay. If you have Sally Mae trying to ask for their money, or any other kind of bill that you may have in your home that you need to pay for, you handle those afterwards. But the most important one is your home bill, which is very important. All the things that are associated with that. Your car and your transportation, very important. Food, very important. All those things kind of go together, and then after that you start determining all the other stuff. So for example, on mine, my budget goes something like this. It's my all car information, all of that is one line statement in there. So that includes my insurance, that includes gas and fuel, that includes if I have to do an oil change or anything like that. After that, I have bills and utilities. So from there, I have water, phone payment, I have my power bill is in there. And then after that, I have a line item for entertainment. This is another thing. All the little things that you have to put line items for them as you're going through this bill. So for me, I have something called entertainment, which includes all my streaming sites. So Netflix, Spotify, Hulu, Apple TV, all those entertainment things, or if I'm going to buy a ticket to go see a movie outside of my house, I put that in that category of entertainment, and I plan that out. I plan the amount that I want to spend for that month on that statement. So whatever that is for you, go ahead and decide how much you want to spend for the month. And then after that, I have restaurant and dining, because sometimes I want to eat out. Sometimes I don't want to eat at home. Sometimes I just want to stop somewhere, grab something to eat real quick. So I do that. I have a statement or a line item for that as well. And then I have groceries as well. That's different. My restaurant eating is not the same as my groceries. I spend more on groceries because, as I learned when I was trying to pay off debt and everything, it is cheaper for me to buy groceries and cook at home than it is for me to keep buying food. We'll talk about that as we get into talking about how to pay off debt. And then after that, I have given to charity, because I believe giving is very important. I have another one, given to church. That's tithes and offering. If you're a Christian, I believe every single one of us should tithe. I'm not having the argument of whether you should or not. It's a biblical principle for me. I tithe. So that's another line item. And then I have my gym membership on there. And then after that, I have a Roth transfer to my Roth IRA that I have on there. And then I have another section for everything else. I have a section that gives me, and the everything else section is basically like, there is a lot of minute stuff that I swipe my card for that I cannot determine right now what that might be. So it can be if somebody asks me for money for something, if I need to get a haircut and I need to withdraw cash from the ATM and I'm not swiping it, if I just decide to send money to somebody because they ask me for some cash or whatever, if I need to buy something on Amazon because something broke in my house. It just gives me that flexibility within my budget. It's a cap amount of money that I've put to that, and says that in this room, in this cap space, this is the amount that I'm willing to spend for anything else that can come up. And that's how I determine that. And then after that, I have the amount of money that is transferred to, whether it's for an emergency fund or whether it's for something that I'm trying to buy later on, whether it's for a house, a car, whatever, because I don't have any credit card payments or anything like that. So I don't have to worry about the rest of my money going somewhere else. But however, if you have a credit card payment, the first thing is to finish your emergency fund. In other words, you make that $1,000, save it in an emergency fund. And then after you've done that, then you start maxing out how much you want to pay for different credit card companies or whatever you owe, whatever debt that you want to pay down. So that's the general overlay of how I do my budget, to give everybody kind of an idea of how to do a budget. But this is not a be all end all. There's a before I came down to this select number that I use for my budgeting, I've gone through all kinds of different budget systems. I've done Excel as a budgeting system. I use something called Your Budget. It's like YNAB, I think it's called. That system didn't work very well for me. I tried using Every Dollar. That system didn't work very well for me. And even as I'm going through all of these different budgeting systems and all of these different budgeting plans, I figured out like these are the things that I feel to be priority. This is how I want to spend my money every month. And so it's a growing process. Your budget is a living document. It is not something you do one time. It's something you refer to every day, every week, to make sure that you're staying in plan, especially when you first start off. Especially when you first determining how I'm going to spend my money, and you start looking at your finances and you start looking at how much money do I actually spend every month? How much money do I spend on food outside of the house? How much money do I spend on groceries? How much money do I spend on clothes? How much money do I spend on Amazon? How much money do I spend on all these different things that we don't really think about, because it's $5 here, it's $10 there, it's $20 here, it's $3 here, it's all over the place. But when you start looking at it, you can determine how you spend your money. And so I'm just giving a general idea of how to go about making a budget. This is not a be all end all. You will figure out what works for you. You will figure out, oh, I don't pay, let's say you don't pay car payments. It's like, okay, I don't pay car payments. That's not important for me. Or I don't eat out that often. That's not important for me. I don't go to the gym. That's not important for me. So you have all these different things that you can eliminate, but this is just to give you an overall theme and an overall idea of what you can possibly create for your budget. And each budget, the most important thing is to stick to it and to pay attention to it and to check back with it. Make sure that you're still in the plan. And the other good thing, the beautiful thing of a budget is also, like I said, it's a living document. You make adjustments. If you notice that you're not spending as much in one category, push that money into another category and just make your budget work for you. Whatever it is that you can figure out a way, just do it. Is the most important thing is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to hit you with the Nike slogan, just do it. Figure out a way to make your budget work for you, but at the same time, don't just do it and just be like, oh, my budget is so flexible, I can spend money anyhow. No. The idea of the budget is to keep you rigid. Even though it's flexible and it's a living document and you can make adjustments, it's not for you to make adjustments and go spend money willy-nilly. No, that's not the idea. The idea is to create gaps of space within your budget so that when you're spending your money, you know where your money is going. The whole idea of this podcast was so we can dive more into how to pay off debt. But I've already been going for about 20 plus minutes on just budgeting. This is how important it is. It is very important to figure out because you can't pay off debt properly if you don't know your budget. And so I really wanted to break down, how do I make a budget? Like I said, first of all, you have to find out and pay attention to what it is that you're spending money for and figure out, how much do I actually make a month? I don't think a lot of us actually know how much money we make a month. And even less of us know how much money we spend in a month. And so when you do this, you will find out that, man, money is just draining out of my pockets. Somebody said that sometimes we put money in our pocket, but we forget that the pocket has holes in it. This is a way that you forcefully start sewing up those pockets with holes. You start paying attention where those little quarters are falling out of. You start paying attention, because a lot of times our bank accounts can look like a drain system, because it just feels like money is just draining out of the bottom. We can't pay. We don't see it because it's not a massive hole, but it's little holes. It's a little net. It's just like how a sieve works. It's like there's little holes all over the place where money just keeps on draining out of. Where every time we look at our bank account, we look at our balance, it's like, that doesn't make any sense. I should have more money than that. And creating a budget helps you plug those holes, helps you determine, how exactly am I spending my money this month? What did I spend my money on? Like, how much am I eating out? And that's what you will learn. And from this, we'll talk about how to pay off debt. The key thing about paying off debt is when you find those holes, you plug those holes up, and then you start cutting back on some things. And that's how you pay off debt. But we'll talk about that in the next episode, probably next week. The first step, however, is for every single person. I know I've been talking about this for about a month now on just creating a budget, but I'm gonna keep reiterating, create a budget, create a budget, create a budget. The moment you create a budget, then you can start making more moves. Create that foundation. Get that foundation set. Don't rush into it. Don't start trying to do other things. Get that foundation set. It's kind of like pouring concrete. They don't just pour concrete and start building on it right away. No. They pour the concrete and then they wait. They wait for the concrete to set. To set. Now, what does it mean for the concrete to set? It means it has stabilized. It has settled. Yes, sometimes you can look at concrete and say, oh, it's hardened, I can walk across it. No, it's not settled yet. You have to give it time for the concrete to harden and settle and stay in place. Don't just rush and dive head first. That's what I did, and it ended up costing me. Don't just dive head first. Don't have a regret. Set your budget, set it in motion, be strict about that budget, create an emergency fund, and then you can start paying off debt. And for all those who are interested in how to pay off debt, it's simple. List down all your debts from lowest to highest, target the lowest one first, make minimum payments on the rest of them, and pay off each one step by step. You focus, you cut back on some things you see in your budget, like, oh, I don't need to be eating out that much. I don't need to be going to the movies that much. I don't need to be going to the bar that much. I don't need to be spending money like this and like that much. And then those extra funds that you get from doing all those things, you push it right towards the debt and you pay off the debt. And it's one after the other. You focus on it very heavily and you destroy them. For the rest of y'all, the goal is to create space in your budget. So when you write down, I use a software called Mint. But first of all, I would say write down all the categories in your life of all the bills that you have in your life. Write down all those categories, and once you determine what all those categories are, then you can come back and then create how much you want to spend every month on those categories. Some things are not as flexible. Bills, like bills for your house and stuff like that, not that flexible. But what is flexible is how much you spend on eating out, the gym that you've not been to in over a year. I know some of you just created a new gym membership. Good for you. But at some point you will realize, man, I haven't been to that gym in so long. At that point, cut that out. Streaming networks, go find friends that have passwords that are willing to share with you. Instead of you paying every month for yours, go find a friend, save you some money. This is different stuff. There's different things that we can do in our life to cut down. Maybe you change your TV plan at home. Maybe you cut out TV completely. Maybe you change your internet speed plan so you get a cheaper internet speed, because a lot of us don't actually take advantage of the speeds that we end up paying for because somebody just came to our door and sold us this beautiful thing and we don't ever actually take advantage of it. So you can do that too. You can cut down on that. What are other things that people can cut down? It's just different things. You can find yourself, you can go to your insurance agencies. This is a trick. This is a good trick. You can go to your insurance agency, threaten to leave, and then they can give you a cheaper price. Or you can shop around and find better insurance for the same coverage that is cheaper for you. That's another option. There are different ways you can look at your budget and determine what it is that I'm paying for, what I'm willing to be paying for, and how to make some money or cut back on some money. And then the other thing is maybe you go pick up a side gig somewhere, a side hustle that you can be doing every so often when you have some free time. Now, not everybody has free time to be able to do that, but if you do have some free time to pick up a side hustle, I would definitely advise doing that so you can make some money. Figure out something that you love. For me, it was soccer, and so when I found out I could ref and field manage for soccer, it was a quick and easy side hustle because it's something that I can walk around, get some exercise as well. That's another cheat. And do. So find out what's important to you. Determine how to spend your budget. Determine how to break it down. Just know that the most important things that you have to plan for, because we'll look at it and forget it, is your home, food, transportation. Those three things, very important. You should look at those three things and everything that is combined with those three things first. Oh, and for all those who have families, I'm not married and I don't have kids yet. For all those who have kids and have families, you probably want to make a line item just for kids, because kids are expensive. As I shouldn't be telling you, you know how much kids are expensive. So if you have kids, you might want to make a line item, kids. But anyway, that's all I got for y'all this week. I didn't really get to talk about debt that much, but hopefully this gives you an idea of how to create a budget, how to go step by step to create a budget, where to go looking for tips to look at to create yourself a budget that you can stick to. Remember, it is not a static document. It is a living document that you revise and you adjust every week. You go back to it. You look at, how did I spend my money? You adjust it. You adjust your budget. You adjust your budget. And it's going to take time. It's going to be hard. This is by no means easy. It's something you have to be active about. Nothing great has ever been created by being passive. Be active in it. Take hold of your money. Take hold of your financial situation. And don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. You got this. Kill it every single day. And we'll talk on Thursday when I come and bring some news that time. We're heading more and more into the more fun stuff that I really want to get to. But first of all, we got to set this foundation right. And once we get this foundation right, y'all going to be superstars. Y'all going to be superstars. Y'all going to be great at this. But yeah, it's been your boy Kelechi. God bless each and every single one of y'all. And this has been the Rambling Mind Podcast. God bless you. And I'm out. Peace.